Welcome to the introductory video for session 6A, which is entitled What Does the Evidence Tell Us? Now, just to recap, what have we done so far? Well, we've placed our topic within the context of evidence-based public health. We've identified a need for a particular health topic of interest to ourselves. We've formulated a question that helps us to identify some of the issues involved. We've conducted a brief literature search for a systematic review. We've then realized that the systematic review can only provide part of the answer, and so we've also looked for an example of a quantitative study, usually more specific than a systematic review, and a qualitative study to help us see whether a particular program or intervention is acceptable. So this particular unit is about bringing together the evidence, bearing in mind that these different studies will have different findings, that in some cases they will agree, in other cases they may well be contradictory, or they may have a supplementary role with one providing information that the other doesn't. And with our evidence-based brief in mind, what we want to try and do is to synthesize those different sources of evidence. And although we're only using one example of each, this principle is used to bring together multiple examples of evidence, perhaps many systematic reviews, many quantitative studies, and many qualitative studies. And there are a number of ways that we can bring such studies together. We can present the evidence diagrammatically, perhaps in the form of a logic model. We can provide tables which present the individual findings of studies so that we can spot patterns across them. We can also provide a narrative commentary that enables us to see the overall picture. And when we're bringing together and integrating quantitative and qualitative evidence, we may well do that through the form of a matrix, where we can identify what the contribution is of each of those types of evidence. So this module, the key word is synthesis. Synthesis is a bringing together of individual parts, usually to make something that is stronger or more valuable than the individual parts, a synthetic product. And a decision maker will want to engage with a range of sources so that they're able to bring to bear the widest possible range of information in order to make a well-informed decision. Now, one thing that we haven't really focused on in this module, and one thing I'd like you to think about, is the role of cost information. Obviously, some of the interventions that you've chosen as your topics may be expensive, others may be less expensive but of marginal benefit, and so cost becomes a key consideration. And what I typically advise students to do, given that this module doesn't have a strong focus on economic evaluation, is to start by making a qualitative list, a shopping list if you like, of the various elements involved in the intervention. Perhaps, for example, training of the staff to deliver the intervention, perhaps resources in terms of information sheets, the resources that you actually use for delivering the intervention, perhaps vaccines or medicines, and just make a qualitative list there to try and identify the cost implications of the particular program or intervention. So what are we going to be doing in this particular session? We're going to be looking at the value of research synthesis, we're going to be defining it, we're going to be giving you examples of how this feeds into the evidence brief, which is the focus of your assignment. We're going to show you different formats for integrating, bringing together findings, and hopefully we'll be moving you towards making some evidence-based recommendations which will serve to conclude this particular stage of your project and prepare a bridge for the implementation that commands the final 2 sessions of this module. So thank you for your attention. If you have any questions, then please do email me on a.booth@sheffield.ac.uk.